Carthage College Baccalaureate service. To ensure that everyone may enjoy the proceedings without distraction, we request at this time that you silence phones, cameras, watches, and other electronic devices that may produce sound. We are extremely grateful to the families and friends who have become part of the Carthage community while supporting their students, and we join you in celebrating their academic achievements today.
Good afternoon. Oh no, hello. Okay, let's just try it again. I know we're all here, breathing, all that kind of stuff. Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day to be inside. I wish we could have this on the steps of the chapel, one of the best places to sit. But we are here to celebrate the class of 2019 and our Interfaith Baccalaureate, which theme is intertwined. But let me answer the question on everybody's mind. What exactly is a baccalaureate? It is believed that the tradition started at Oxford University in 1432, when each bachelor was required to deliver a sermon in Latin as part of his academic requirements. Being that many of the universities in America were founded to educate ministers, the practice of baccalaureate services continued. Carthage has a long history of baccalaureate celebration. Rooted in the Lutheran tradition and started by Lutherans in rural Illinois, faith and learning have gone hand in hand since its founding. Over the years, Carthage moved locations many times, and as the world has changed, so has the makeup of the student body. Once mainly a college built by and for Lutherans, Carthage is now a college deeply rooted in its Lutheran heritage, which calls us to live in a spirit of radical hospitality and welcome to all. The Carthage community is made up of many different Christian traditions, such as Roman Catholic to Orthodox. Each of the three largest Lutheran bodies are represented in our student body: ELCA, LCMS, and WELS, along with other denominations and other non-denominational traditions. The Carthage community includes members of all the Abrahamic traditions of Judaism and Islam. We also find atheists, Unitarians, pagans, and more. All these traditions have wisdom to share, and the Carthage community is stronger because of our diversity and our willingness to love our own tradition while being open to learning from each other. Today's program is not a worship service. No one is going to be asked to state a creed or to make a faith statement. We will sing together. We will hear stories and sacred readings together. We will light candles together, and we will listen to our brothers and sisters with whom we are connected to through our love for Carthage. It is a program that lifts up the leaders of the Carthage community from the varied faith traditions. It is a celebration of our diversity while seeing the unity we share as we go out into the world to share our gifts for the common good of all humanity. Our lives are intertwined. One of my favorite quotes is attributed to Gandhi. It is this: "The faith tradition you were born into is your home, with the windows open, so that the winds of other traditions can blow through and bring their unique oxygen." Today is about loving your belief system, whatever that may be, while standing side by side with those who believe differently from you. Today we learn from each other. Today is about celebrating the learning and wisdom we all have to share and how that wisdom can guide us as we search for our place in the world. Today is truly for everyone. Today is about each of us seeing that we are forever connected. Today, when we spread the light, it will be spread from these 5 candles in front of me. Each candle represents a deadly shooting that has happened in a community of faith in the past year. Let us commit ourselves to creating a world of peace where no one has to fear going to their place of worship. There are many people to thank: the planning committee, our speakers and readers, and all of you for being here today on this absolutely beautiful day. And thanks to the President's String Quartet and the Carthage Choir for sharing the gift of music with us today. Please pray with me. God of all goodness and life, we give you thanks for gathering us here this day to share our wisdom and learning with one another. Open our hearts to dare to love as you love. Open our ears so that we can ponder the gracious words of others. Open our eyes to see that you move through this world in ways that are beyond our human understanding. Open our minds to imagine a world of peace and justice for all. Bless the graduating class of 2019 at Carthage. Grant them the wisdom and courage to go out into the world believing in their hearts that you have called them to shine light into the darkness of our world. Help each of us to know that we are truly bound together, and to lift up one is to lift up many. We pray in your holy name. Amen. I invite you to stand as we sing the song printed in your program.
Please be seated. Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Mazius. I'm a graduating senior here at Carthage who was, up until now, the president of the Jewish Awareness Association. I shall be reading for you a passage from Genesis, from my beloved Tanakh. I can find the page first. Oops. Oh dear. There. God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and birds that fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." God created the great sea monsters and all living creatures of every kind that creep, which waters brought forth in swarms, and all the winged birds of every kind, and God saw that this was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fertile and increase, fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening, there was morning, a fifth day. On this fifth day, God said, "Let the earth bring forth a kind of living creature, cattle, creeping things, and wild beasts of every kind." And it was so. God made wild beasts of every kind, and cattle of every kind, and all kinds of creeping things of the earth. And God saw that this was good. And finally, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, the whole earth, and all the creeping things that creep on earth." And God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fertile and increase. Fill the earth and master it, and rule the fish of the sea, and the birds of the sky, and all living things that creep on the earth. In these first few passages of the Tanakh have taught me anything about creation, is that life and light were created from nothing. And because the Almighty created our world, we must love and honor his name, well, according to my beliefs. While this may differentiate from others who believe a different story, that remains the same, that something extraordinary happened for us to exist, which is widely appreciated and accepted. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luke Shamrock. I'll be graduating tomorrow with a degree in public relations, and I'm going to read this passage from the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 15 to 22, which I believe ties into our theme here today of everyone being intertwined. If another member of the church sins against you, go and point out the fault when the two of you are alone. If the member listens to you, you have regained that one. But if you are not listened to, take 2 or 3 others along with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If the member refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if the offender refuses to listen to even the church, let such a one be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father who is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am among them. Then Peter came and said to him, Lord, if another member of the church sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, not 7 times, but I tell you, 77 times.
Hello, my name is Sanid Ahmed. I'm about to graduate tomorrow as well with a major in exercise and sports science. I'm going to read a verse from the Quran, chapter Al-Imran, verse 104. Real quick though, I just want to explain it. So you're supposed to wear a hat when you read from the Quran. So I'm going to put my hat on. And then there's like a little opening that I'll read. It's in Arabic, just saying it's in the name of God, the gracious, the merciful. And then I'll read the verse in English. So the verse is, and hold fast altogether to the rope of Allah, and be not divided, and remember the favor of Allah, which he bestowed upon you when you were enemies, and he united your hearts in love, so that by his grace you became as brothers, and you were on the brink of the pit of fire, and he saved you from it. Thus does Allah explain to you his commandments, so that you may be guided.
Welcome. My name is Jane Anderson Spencer, and it is my extreme privilege to be with you here today. This afternoon, I'm going to be talking about hats and how all of the hats we wear are intertwined and connected, and how hats have shaped and molded our lives to be who we are today. Personally, I have worn a multitude of Carthage hats, as I have had a lifelong history with this college. My parents, both graduates by the way, met one another on the Carthage, Illinois campus at a freshman dance right after World War II. Upon graduation, my father began his career at the college and organized the first official admissions office. Prior to that time, the college president and the professors would visit farms and schools and churches to recruit the students. I was born in Carthage, Illinois, and when the decision was made to relocate the campus to Kenosha, my dad helped with the efforts and moved our family. I graduated in 1980, and I believe there are 17, although I've probably lost count, members of our family who are all Carthaginians. My career here began in 1986. That was more than a decade before you were born. Serving in the alumni, advancement, and student success offices, and as one of the advisors for Kappa Phi Eta. One of the most important hats I have donned here was my first-year advisor hat. Oftentimes, for many of you, it resembled a mother's hat, as I cried with you during those frantic freshman days when you were facing homesickness, roommate issues, or an overwhelming sense of dismay or fear. And I laughed with you when you shared funny antics of your college experience, or when you had to explain to me just exactly LOL and OMG were. As I celebrated and rejoiced with you when you aced a test, or when we were able to snag a seat in an over-enrolled class that you needed. I would also often wear my baker's hat to share home-baked cookies with you. And who can forget that CSS hat, College Success Seminar, as many of you in my classes had to endure my stories of life at Carthage in the 70s, how we actually used hardcover books for research and manual typewriters for term papers. We are all connected by the hats we wear. I know that you don't remember the very first hat you wore, as it was placed on your head moments after you were born. Perhaps it resembled one like this. Now, if you're born into a Carthage family, like I was, you would wear one like this, knitted by my mother. I grew up thinking I was Waldo from Where's Waldo, but I don't think those books were written when I was born way back then. And throughout your childhood, I'm confident that your parents constantly reminded you to wear a hat when the temperatures dropped. And then you get to college, and then you had Benita scolding you to wear a hat. I want you to think about the many hats that you have worn at Carthage. We have so many aspects to us that we're not just one thing. We represent so much within us. You exercise many different talents and skills and wear multiple different hats. Your time and involvement in academics, music, athletics, theater, Greek life, social organizations, but also think about the hats you wear in relationships, as a student, of course, a friend, a roommate, an intern, a volunteer, a world traveler, and now as a Carthaginian. Today is a great day to reflect on and to embrace the many hats, or in other words, the many roles you have experienced while at Carthage. And tomorrow, This is one of the most important hats you will ever wear, a traditional mortarboard, which you will need a lot of bobby pins to balance on your head. But it represents all of your accomplishments, your hard work, your ideas and dreams, and most of all, your learning and your growth. Less than 7% of the world's population holds a college degree. So wear this mortarboard with pride for the rest of your life to remind you of your Carthage success. And now for one final test before you graduate tomorrow, and it may determine whether or not you receive that diploma. Who remembers the Carthage mission statement? Ooh. Don't worry, the registrar isn't here. Seeking truth, building strength, inspiring service together. It's a great mission statement, one that you should make your own. And if you need a reminder through the years, just use the four corners of your Carthage hat. Seeking truth, building strength, inspiring service together. I am so very, very proud of you, and I thank you wholeheartedly for the immense purpose and joy and meaning that you have offered me throughout your Carthage career. You have kept me young in spirit and young in heart, and I shall miss you tremendously. So hats off to the class of 2019. Congratulations.
Oh, my tab's already open. Hello, my name is Jenna Rose Dre. Until just about now, I have been the president of Pagan Forum. I follow a Celtic pagan tradition with a particular focus on Irish traditions. Therefore, it's no surprise that the myth I'm about to share with you comes from Ireland. It is called the Children of Lear. Before I start, I do want to preface that the Celts did not physically record any of their own myths. They were written down by Catholic monks after Christianity came to Ireland. But what I appreciate about this one is that even though it was not written down by the Celts themselves, there is a deep reverence and respect for the Tuatha, or the Irish gods, and their followers, as well as a fellowship between the Christians and the pagans. After the death of Nuada, king of the Tuatha De Danann, was killed, the Tuatha elected a new king. Two likely candidates were Lear, god of the sea, and Bodab Derg. Ultimately, the Tuatha chose Bodab Derg to be their new king. To show Lear that there were no hard feelings, he arranged for one of his foster daughters, Eve, to marry Lear. The two were very much in love and had two sets of twins. The first were a boy and a girl named Ave and Fionnuala. The second two were boys named Fiachra and Con. Sadly, Eve died, and Lear and his children grieved greatly. Hoping to bring happiness back into their lives, Bodab Derg arranged for Lear to marry Eve's sister, Aoife. For a while, the family was happy together, but Aoife had a jealous heart and soon began to despise her stepchildren for the love and attention their father bestowed on them. She planned to get rid of the children, but could not bring herself to kill her sister's kids. So instead, she cursed them, turning them into swans. The children gained the gift of beautiful, bewitching song and retained the ability to speak. The children begged Aoife that someday they would be free of this curse. She took pity on them and agreed. The children would have to live in 3 different lakes, each for 300 years. The children would not revert to their true forms until a prince of Connaught married a princess of Munster. When the Tuatha learned what Aoife had done, Aoife was turned into a spirit of war in the form of a crow and blood dripping from its beak, with blood dripping from its beak, as it was what she feared most. The Tuatha established a home at the banks of the water and spent 300 years listening to the songs of Lear's children. When the 300 years passed, the children left. The Swan children faced many hardships. At one point, the four were separated by a terrible storm, and each believed they were the only survivors. But as the sun came up and the seas calmed, they one by one found each other again and realized that they could get through any hardship as long as they were together. 300 years passed at that lake, and 300 more, and eventually they were able to return to their original lake. But no longer were the Tuatha there, for gods can only be given power so long as people believe in them. And since then, the Tuatha had been changed into seas or fairies and were living underground. But they did happen upon a holy hermit. And the hermit brought them food and befriended the children, and in return the children blessed them with their hauntingly beautiful song. Soon all Ireland heard of these swans and their sad tale. And soon it came to pass that a marriage was arranged between a king of Connacht and a princess of Munster. As the day approached, the princess decided that she would not marry unless the king presented her with those swans. So the king set off with golden chains to capture the children of Lear. The hermit tried to protect them, but was no match. Meanwhile, the princess had had some time to think and realized she demanded too much. And at the moment that a bell rang signaling her arrival, the children were magically transformed to their original forms. So rather than swans, it was four beautiful children in gold chains. But as the king and his men looked at them, slowly time began to take hold, and they became the ancient beings that they were, wrinkled and gray. Though not a follower of the old ways, the king was in awe and felt deep shame for what he had done. In reverence to them, he offered that they might live in his castle, but the four knew that they were not long for this world. They went to the hermit and thanked him for all that he had done for them and begged for one last kindness. Knowing they would soon die, the children asked that when they did, that he bless them in his own tradition, but to honor them together with the burial of their people. And so when the four breathed their last breath, the hermit prayed for their souls and buried them together, standing facing each other. Their spirits left the hermit with one final gift. Though they were gone, the hermit could still hear their song whenever he sat at the lake. Some say if you still respect the old ways, you can hear their song to this day. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Peter Shamrock. Yes, I'm related to the other Shamrock who spoke, just in case you're wondering. And I'm a graduating senior with a major in history and a minor in religion. My parents raised me Christian, for which I'm grateful. But during my years at Carthage, I've had the opportunity to study other faith traditions. There is a passage from the Quran that really speaks to me. Specifically, I like the Quran chapter 49, verse 13, because, it basically says that humans are divided into different groups, tribes, countries, so that they may learn to cooperate with each other. At least I hope I interpreted that right. It emphasizes global unity, being intertwined. And if everyone took this ideal to heart, we could spend the time and energy, like we, humanity, could just spend the time and energy we use to kill each other in senseless wars, to be more productive endeavors that can improve the world for everyone. The passage reads, "O mankind, Indeed, we have created you from male and female, and made you peoples and tribes, so that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of God is the most righteous of you. Indeed, God is knowing and acquainted. Thank you.
Dear President, Carthage faculty, staff, students, the class of 2019, and esteemed guests. You might want to cancel your dinner reservations so you will be here for a while. Good afternoon. My name is Fatih Harpçı, F-A-T-I-H, first name.
We spelled it right.
Okay, good. I have been a religion professor here at Carthage College since 2014. Today, in this special occasion, we gathered as brothers, sisters, and fellow Carthaginians to share a moment of goodwill and peace. We are here at this interfaith program to pause and reflect on this specific rite of passage and what we have been going through as individuals. For those who do not know, Carthage is a college of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. The Lutheran tradition was originated in the intersection of the church and the academy. An ELCA college, such as Carthage, is a community of faith and learning. And engagement with other religious traditions is definitely some of the distinctive elements of the Lutheran tradition of higher education. Diverse religion courses offered here have given you, our graduates, the opportunity, I hope they have, given you the opportunity to leave the college with a functional and quite sophisticated understanding of the importance of religion in your world and ability to interact with individuals, groups, and societies that hold very different religious or non-religious views than your own. You will be going into the workforce and into the world with more education that will provide basic tools for working toward a peaceful and productive global community. In your lifetimes, you will encounter enormous divergence from the profile of religion in the world today. Remember, the lack of mutual understanding, the ignorance of the basics of our creeds and practices of our faiths hinder constructive dialogue between people of faith. your fellow human beings. The New Testament tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves. The Prophet Muhammad in Islam declares, "None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother or for his neighbor what he wishes for himself." The same is also accurate for Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs, Jains, Taoists, and Confucians. This is the golden rule, the invitation to understand one another, to treat with dignity and respect one another, and to love those with whom we share the same breath, the same world, and the same humanity. This may seem as a simple rule, but actually the most challenging one. For it is asking every one of us to take some degree of responsibility for the well-being of people we may not know or agree with. This golden rule requires a living, breathing, active faith. It requires us not only to have faith, but to act and to make sacrifice for the benefit of others. By following this golden rule, instead of dividing us from one another, our traditions can bring us together to feed the hungry, to shelter the homeless, and to comfort the suffering. This is not only our call as people of faith or no faith, but our great responsibility as global citizens of this planet. Yes, divisions, conflicts, and even century-long confrontations do not suddenly disappear overnight. But if we get together sincerely and honestly, and talk to one another openly and respectfully, new relationships will start to develop. While such dialogue and interaction with the others provides peaceful solution to hostility, it has the potential for strengthening cooperation, building mutuality and appreciation, and seeing common ground for action in this world. Regardless of their adherence implementation, many cherished virtues such as love, compassion, mercy, honesty, generosity, truthfulness, trustworthiness, justice have the highest precedence in the messages brought by Moses and Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad and all other prophets and sages. Also, human rights abuses, scarcity of resources, hunger, illiteracy, social injustices, ecological destruction, environmental pollution, and terrorism are dilemmas faced by people in every religion and every culture. What people have in common is far greater than what divides and separates them. Therefore, it's both worthwhile and necessary to establish a sincere dialogue and thereby enable understanding. All humans, regardless of their religious, ethnic, racial, national, and sexual background, deserve respect and dignity. And it's time for us to stand up for the common grounds that unites us to one another. We gathered here today to pause and reflect. So let us not only talk to each other, but listen to and understand one another. Let us all nurture a perspective that sees every human being as inherently worthy and dignified. All of us can do more to recognize this common humanity of our neighbors and to build a community of equity and inclusion that protects the rights of all people to live and practice their religion in safety, security, and peace. I like to end with this beautiful statement of Hans Küng, a Swiss Roman Catholic scholar. No peace among the nations without peace among the religions. No peace among the religions without dialogue between the religions. No dialogue between the religions without global ethical standards. No survival of our globe without a global ethic, a world ethic, supported by both the religious and the non-religious. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Sydney Burke. I'm in the graduating class of 2019. My time at Carthage, I was a psychology major and criminal justice minor. I'm going to be reading a selection from a book called No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat Hanh. This book delves into what human suffering is, as well as what happiness is. Essentially, the book touches on the idea that everyone has to learn how to suffer and suffer properly in order to be happy. A lotus isn't possible without mud being present. Throughout this book, practicing mindfulness or being more conscious about your thoughts and everyday experiences is highly encouraged. After discussing the duality of suffering and joy, the author describes something that struck me and may very well pertain to your lives. Your body is a collective product of your nation, of your people, of your culture, of your ancestors. So you are not strictly an individual, you are partly collective. We may think we are only responsible for our own suffering and happiness, but our happiness increases the world's happiness, and our suffering is the world's suffering. So if you have suffering in you, and you do not know where it comes from, looking deeply, you may see that this is the suffering of your ancestors, handed down from one generation to another, because no one knew how to recognize, embrace, and heal it. It is not your fault, nor is it their fault. So part of looking deeply into our suffering is to know that it is not ours alone. When we're able to embrace our suffering, we're also embracing our ancestors, and the healing goes back through generations. When we practice mindful breathing to know how to recognize, embrace, and transform our pain, we do it for them as well as us. Then we can heal not only our own suffering and that of our ancestors, but we can also avoid transmitting this suffering to our loved ones, to our children, and to their children. Today, I encourage everyone to practice mindfulness in their everyday actions so that you may bring happiness to yourself and to the world we're all connected to. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Pettit. I am graduating tomorrow with a Bachelor's of Music Education with a choral emphasis. And this past year, I was the music director and piano accompanist for Catholic's Mass at Carthage every Sunday, so that was a wonderful privilege to be able to do that. And today I'm going to be reading you the story of the washing of the disciples' feet from John chapter 13, verse 1 through 15 from the Bible. Before the feast of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So, during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing, you do not understand now, but you will understand later." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who would betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he had washed their feet, put his garments back on, and reclined at the table again, he said to them, "Do you not realize what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I, therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do." I love this passage because Jesus is setting an example for us of how we should treat each other. We are all connected today through Carthage, and our futures are largely unknown. Jesus reminds us that what I am doing, you do not understand now, but you will understand later. During the journey of the next months and years ahead, I take comfort in God's plan for me. Though sometimes I may not fully understand, this passage reminds me that no matter where life takes us, as long as we remember to live out our mission to serve each other and wash each other's feet, we will end up being where we are meant to be. Thank you.
Is this low enough? Hey, everyone. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, friends and foes alike. My name is Jennifer Britton, and as you can probably guess, I am a fellow graduating Carthage senior tomorrow. I am going to be receiving bachelor's degrees in social work and religion, and I've had the absolute honor and privilege of being the interfaith coordinator for Carthage for the past 2 years, involved with interfaith cooperation all 4 years, involved in chapel service, involved in the religion department, and being the biggest fangirl of every faith organization on this campus. First, I would like to begin by thanking you all for being here today. Every student, family member, faculty, and friend that sits in this room was not required to be here. We have all actively chosen to be together, which is the most beautiful thing people can be. Thank you for the gift of this moment. It is one I know we will not soon forget. I won't pretend like I have something new or inspiring to say here. Looking at how immensely the people in this room have inspired me, I can't imagine what I could offer you all. But I think that's what intertwining really is. It's the ability for people of all walks of life to come together, to inspire one another, and to help each other grow into the people we are trying so hard to be. It's not linear, and that's where the beauty of life lies. When picturing the concept of intertwining, the vision of a dance comes to my mind. You see the smiling dancers. You can see the way they depend on one another, and you can see how every single moving part of this larger performance is important and affects all other parts. You can see the trust and the encouragement they provide for each other, and you know that that stage is their home. This dance is what acts as a perfect symbol for life. People often equate life to a journey, a voyage with a preconceived destination in mind. However, can anyone in this room tell me what that destination is? Do you know what day you'll wake up and be able to say that you arrived? When will you know you made it? You won't. You'll wake up that day and you'll feel no different than you always have. Instead, life is an intertwining dance. The point of this dance isn't to reach the end, but to enjoy the dance as it's happening. It exists only for the dance itself. All our lives thus far, we've been told to live for the future. Build a career, start a family, find success, get to heaven, or whatever else. However, for right now, the horizon can look after itself. We are taking one step right now that is going to move mountains. The universe isn't going to go anywhere, but the dance of your lives is happening right now. Seeing life as a linear journey will cheat you, but seeing it as an intertwining and playful dance will encourage us to conquer all obstacles ahead as we put our hearts and hands into the world. Here at Carthage, intertwining has meant togetherness. Those times our dances cross paths and bring us together are often the most significant moments of our lives. We intertwine in moments of mourning and of sorrow. We intertwine in moments of celebration and joy like today. We intertwine in giving ourselves to others in our community. And most importantly, we have all intertwined when we have loved one another and let that love come in. I have never met a single person in this community that I could not find something to love about, and I know many of you share this same sentiment. The love and inspiration that have been given to me from this community shaped me from the girl who almost took her life before college to the powerhouse of a woman you see standing before you today. And so humble, I might add. But the thing is, you all did that. Carthage is a home. Carthage is a family, and all of you have made that family better by simply being a part of it. As we all go our separate ways, remember everyone who helped you get here today. Remember the love, the disasters, the shame, the pride, and every moment that made you realize how much of a gift it is to be here. I know I will. But no matter where we go, there is one piece of advice I would want you to all take as you go. No matter what you do, you do not have to be extraordinary in order to be loved. You do not always have to be strong to be supported. and you do not have to constantly succeed to be cared for. The people surrounding you today will love you through every mountain and every valley. I will leave you with a parting blessing from my Unitarian Universalist faith. Within each of our hearts, there is a most glorious light. Go forth and bring its ray of hope to those in need. Go forth and fan its flames to heal our world. Go forth and push back the darkness of the world. Go forth and share your most glorious light. Congratulations to the class of 2019. May peace and joy follow you as you dance through life. And now maybe I shouldn't say this in a chapel, but thank you, Carthage, for a hell of a ride.
you can clap louder than that. I do invite you to stand for our closing prayer and blessing. Let us pray. God of all, we give you thanks for this opportunity to gather and to reflect on our growth during our time at Carthage. The past 4 years have transformed each one of us in unique ways. Thank you for the struggles that unlock unknown potentials. Thank you for the words of encouragement that come at a critical time. Thank you for this community that allows each one of us to gain skills and knowledge that will guide our lives in service to others. Grant each of us the courage to seek our purpose wherever it takes us and to show love wherever we go. Amen. May you be blessed by tears that will cleanse your soul and blessed by smiles that will connect you to the souls of others. May you bless others with your story so that they may see the world in a new way, and may you be blessed by the stories of others so that the picture of your world will never be set in stone. May you be blessed by days of ease and blessed by struggle that will bring you to a place of deeper compassion for others. May you be blessed by a community that will continue to surround you with wisdom, learning, light, and peace. Amen. You may be seated for our final song.